I saw this in the theater. Did you see this in the theater like I did?
What is this town? What am I doing? Like,
this soundtrack was such a big deal. Bubbling over with cheese.
Just
two teenage boys are just not going to be caught listening to that song ever.
John Lithgow, man, iconic.
There's no rock and roll and there's no fun. The song, though, that was on this movie that isn't on the soundtrack.
But he can't because his shoelace is stuck on part of the tractor.
Footloose soundtrack overtakes Van Halen.
Who can stay in the tractor the longest?
A funny twist that will really, a lot of the people on this channel, it'll resonate with.
And then her like lower half is in the other car, and there's a car coming
the other way, and they just keep showing it over and over and over. The boom, 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 boom. There was one more huge hit that was not on the soundtrack. And do you know what that was?
You know, like the preacher shows up.
Hey, if you're a fan of Footloose or awesome soundtrack music, this is the video for you. I'm here again with Austin, who's joined us to talk a little bit about soundtracks again.
Heck yeah.
And we've picked a really important classic soundtrack. Again, a movie that came out before you were born.
Yeah.
But this movie is kind of near and dear to people who live in Utah, though.
Yeah.
And partly because of where it was filmed.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, it was filmed in Payson, Utah, so just a little bit up the road.
Although it was a fictional town, I can't remember, what was the town called? I can't remember what it was, but it was based on a fictional town. But is that what it was?
Yeah.
Okay. But it was filmed there, and also the part in where he's moving the grain or something is filmed up at a place that, I don't know if it's still there, but it was called Lehi Roller Mills.
Yeah.
And you would drive past it on the freeway, and you'd see it over there, and you're like, that's where they filmed Footloose, you know? So for those of us that are from Utah or have lived in Utah, you know, this is one of those important movies because so much of it was filmed here. And the actual story of the movie, even though it was a fictional town, was a town in Utah.
Yep.
And of course, the storyline is, you know, Ren moves to this new city. He's from Chicago, and he comes to this small town in Utah where they don't allow dancing, and there's no rock and roll, and there's no fun.
Yeah,
you're not supposed to have fun in this town. And then you've got John Lithgow, who's the pastor of the local church, and he's the one kind of in charge and doesn't, you know, he's led the charge against all the evil things. And it was because we find out in the movie, because like a few years earlier before Ren showed up, what was it that happened? There was an accident or something, right?
Yeah. His son, he was in a car accident, and he passed away actually. And I think he was probably under the influence. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, that's what happened.
Because they'd driven across a bridge or something. I remember that in the movie. So then they had this whole thing where they're going to stop dancing, and then of course Ren moves into town. He's not going to have any of that. And then, you know, the movie culminates with him trying to put on a prom. The guy that, I think the one that owns the mill, which is just outside on the other side of the county line.
Yep.
He says he'd offer the place, and then of course John Lithgow, by the end of the movie, they're in church, and he says, I hear the kids are talking about having a dance or something like that. And I remember, see, this is the thing. This is the thing. Both of you guys are too young to know about this, but I saw this in the theater.
Yeah.
And I remember when that happened. You know, the whole thing at that moment where they're sitting in church, and he goes, let us pray that they'll, you know, to guide their whatever. And I remember going, dude, you know, it was this, because what was it? Because this came out in 84. If this came out in February of 84, I was 14 when this movie came out. So it was, you know, it was one of those things where we could, all the people in the movie, you know, we could relate to them. They would have been just a couple years older than I was, but, you know, me and my sisters, this was, it was meaningful in that way because we weren't living in Utah. I'm from Denver, but still, this thing ended up selling like a ton of copies.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah, I think it sold 10 million copies, and it got to Diamond, which is unheard of. It only has 9 songs on it.
And kind of a funny twist that will really, a lot of the people on this channel, it'll resonate with. In 1984, the other thing that was released was the album 1984 by Van Halen.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things that kept Van Halen out of the number one slot, 1984, was a Michael Jackson album called Thriller.
Thriller.
Also, do you know who played the guitar solo on the song Beat It?
Eddie Van Halen.
Eddie Van Halen played the guitar solo. So his own, an album that he played on, Thriller, was in the number one spot, and 1984 was in the number two spot.
Dang.
So his own recording was keeping his own band out of the number one slot. But here's the other thing. 1984 was in the number two slot, and then when Thriller was finally knocked out of the number one slot, you know what jumped ahead of 1984? This.
Boom, boom. Dang,
so
dude.
Thriller kept him out of the number one spot, and then Footloose kept him out of the number one spot.
Well, and it's ironic because
Sammy Hagar
has a song on here.
On here. And then he ends up just, then it wasn't long after that David Lee Roth's gone, and then Sammy Hagar's in the band. So funny.
Oh my God.
The 1984 Van Halen album got kept out by two albums, one that had Eddie Van Halen on it, one that had Sammy Hagar on it. Anyway, just kind of a funny,
and then they
funny
brought
little
them,
twist.
Together, and then the rest is history.
And then the rest becomes rock history. By 1980. By 1986, 5150 is all over the world. Yeah, and so everything changed by then. But
that's
anyway,
ironic. I did not know that.
Yeah, kind of a funny little twist of fate there. But this soundtrack was such a big deal.
Powerhouse.
And first of all, the first funny thing about it, to me, goes back to something that you and I said on the last time we got together. Because we talked about Rocky, and who was it that was in that one song on Rocky? Kenny Loggins. And Kenny Loggins,
the myth, the legend.
And I made a comment that I was like, it's so funny because Kenny Loggins got kind of known for being on soundtracks, and here it is again. I mean, the song Footloose. Go to any backyard party, wedding event, dance right now, and somebody's playing Footloose. It's still a popular dance song. And not just that, not just did that become huge on this album, but another song on here called I'm Free was another hit off this album with Kenny Loggins.
Two songs for the Kenny man.
Kenny was the soundtrack dude. So it's just another example of how he just kind of showed up on all these soundtracks. There was something about him that was pretty significant. So from your standpoint, of course, you're an actor, you're involved with that community around here. You've seen this movie. Obviously, everybody in the world has seen this movie.
Oh, yeah.
What is just before we get into all the music, what was your take on the movie itself? Because you saw this long after it come out.
Yeah.
The world was a little bit different by the time you saw this. And
and I'm afraid to admit, I actually saw like the newer one first.
Whoa, no kidding.
Before I saw this one, so I had to like go back, and like watch the original.
I haven't even seen any of the new stuff. I never even saw it.
Yeah, it's it came out in 2011, and
I remember that it came out, but I never saw it.
Yeah, like anybody like see it in the comments, like it was like pretty good, but yeah, like the first time I saw this was actually like 12 years ago.
You were old enough to know whether or not, because I saw it as a 14-year-old, and you're easily impressed at 14.
Yeah,
you would have seen it. You were a bit older than that when you saw it.
I would have been 18 or 19, like the first time that I saw this.
A little bit more discerning than a 14-year-old.
I thought that it was super cool. I thought that it was a lot of fun, and I thought that the soundtrack, like was the best part. Obviously, I mean, come on, it has all these hits, and I thought it was a lot of fun, and I thought like that it was super cool that it was filmed in Utah. I grew up like in farmland in like Idaho, and like all the shots in this movie look exactly like like the area like where I grew up. So it's I just thought it was a lot of fun. It's
a fun kind of coming of age kind of movie.
Yeah, so
it's pretty cool. So anyway, you've got Kevin Bacon here on the front with his Walkman on.
Yeah.
And do you remember the scenes? Oh, and that's the roller mill back there too, isn't it? And I remember the Walkman was kind of a thing when he and Willard were doing that dancing thing,
Yep.
walking, and both wearing the headphones and
Yep.
listening to, well, and we can talk about that now, the songs that they were listening to. Let's flip this over because they've got them all listed here. But, and there were, I think we said that, there were only 9 songs
Yeah.
on this soundtrack. It's pretty interesting to have it sell 10 million copies of the soundtrack. It's incredible.
It didn't even have 10 songs on it, so that's
and
super
several
cool.
of these songs on their own became, I mean, obviously not just the songs became huge hits.
Yeah.
Starting with Footloose. And this is first of all kind of an interesting thing. When you look at the writing credits, it says written by Kenny Loggins and Dean Pitchford. Now, Dean Pitchford is the guy that actually wrote the movie.
Wow.
And what's kind of fascinating about this is you'll find, I think he gets writing credit on almost every single song.
Is he on every song?
So Dean Pitchford, let's hear it for the boy, Dean Pitchford, Almost Paradise, Dean Pitchford, Holding Out for Hero, Dean Pitchford, Dancing in the Sheets, same thing, I'm Free, same thing.
Oh my goodness.
Somebody's Eyes, The Girl Gets Around. Yeah, he's got writing credit on every single song.
Smart guy, right?
So
More money.
yeah, and this is kind of an interesting thing because you don't know for sure what his involvement was in the writing process.
Yeah.
Because what'll happen a lot of times is a producer, for example, a band will go into the studio to record an album, and the producer of the album will actively get involved in the songwriting process. Yep. In other words, maybe he'll throw in an extra word or a line or suggesting something for the purpose of getting writing credit.
Yeah.
Because then what happens is when you get the royalties through BMI or ASCAP or whichever, whatever it's registered through, you get that much more money.
Yeah.
So you don't know for sure with him,
Yeah.
if that's why he did it. But it is a strategy that a lot of people use, like go out of your way to just, even if it's you add the slightest little bit, then you get writing credit. And as a writer, then you can get, you can get royalties. Now, looking at these songs, I just kind of ran through them, but there's something important to note about this soundtrack. And it's that there are some really important songs that were in the movie that are not on the soundtrack, that people that watch the show will remember these songs. And one of them was, and again, remembering when this came out, because this came out in 1984. And this was not long after Quiet Riot kind of came into the mainstream. And when I say Quiet Riot, I'm talking about the Kevin DuBrow, Frankie Benali, Rudy Sarzo, and Carlos Cavazo version that did the song Come On Feel the Noise.
Yeah.
Well, the song, though, that was on this movie that isn't on the soundtrack is the song Metal Health. And do you remember when Metal Health happened in the movie? Do you remember what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So
Totally.
do you remember where it happened in the movie?
I forget.
So where it happened, it's really funny. And I remember this because I was a kid that was into that kind of music at the time. When he's going to school for the first time,
That's right.
he's driving down the road and you hear Metal Health by Quiet Riot. And what happens? He's driving his little, yellow bug or something like that. And he gets pulled over for playing loud music. And the cop reaches in, as I recall, and he pulls that cassette tape out. and that's who he was listening to, was Quiet Riot. So anyway, that's kind of an interesting thing. So Quiet Riot was in the movie, but not on the soundtrack. And there's another song that was a massive monster hit in the real world, like that one, that was in the movie, but was also not on the soundtrack. And it's a song by the band Foreigner.
That's right.
And it's the song Waiting for a Girl Like You. And where that happens is when they're where they go to that dance, the night that they go back across the bridge and tell that story, they do this little slow dance.
That's right.
And And that's where the song is being played, Waiting for a Girl Like You, which, by the way, if you're about my age and if you ever went to a school dance or a church dance or something like that, that was the ultimate, like seriously, ultimate slow dance tune like ever created.
Yeah.
Now, so that was not on here. Now there's one more. There was one more huge hit that was not on the soundtrack. There was also a mega hit. And do you know what that was? It was when they first walked into that scene, the same one that I'm talking about. They were playing the song "Hurt So Good" by John Cougar,
yeah.
and that's what they were dancing to. Hurt so good, and then they get in there and they start dancing. And so anyway, those were just
times of love.
Yeah, don't feel like it should. Yes,
Hurt so good.
Anyway, that's what was playing when they walked into that bar, that nightclub. On that same scene. Yeah. So anyway, there were 3 like humongous hit songs.
It looked so good on the screen too.
Yes, indeed.
Hurt so good and looked so good.
It was, and that was a great song. I mean, do you remember when that tune came out? It was such a big hit.
Yeah.
So it was kind of interesting that on this soundtrack, 3 songs that were so big, so huge, but they were huge independent of this.
Yeah.
They were kind of known outside of the movie. And so they brought them into the movie to be part of the world that these kids in that story would have been living in. So that was, anyway, those were kind of cool things. So let's go through this track list because
really
I think this is kind of cool stuff. So the first song, Footloose, I remember the first time I heard that song, and you hear it on this movie, and it's just such a great dance tune. So you'd heard the song long before you probably saw the movie, right? I'm guessing.
Oh yeah. Like at a church dance, a school dance, or something. Like in 2006, 2007. So yeah. I think that was like the first time that I heard it. But yeah, way before I saw the movie, for sure.
Yeah, because it was just a massive monster hit to begin with.
Yeah.
And so then let's hear it for the boy now. Do you this song
one of
was
your like favorite songs, right?
Yes.
Like, is this one? Yeah.
Yes.
Let's hear it for the boy.
What was happening in the movie when that song was being played?
They're practicing their dancing, man. Like they're at the track, like doing that little thing. I'm not sure what dance move that was exactly, but they were feeling it, right? They were doing it. So
now it's a funny thing because I think I said this before we started, but you get 2 teenage boys. First of all, learning how to dance like that, or Ren is teaching Willard how to dance.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. Ain't no way that's the song they're going to be listening to.
No.
I just think it was so strange that that's the song they decided to have, the 2 of them. When it makes me want to cheer. Let's hear it. I don't know, man.
That's so funny.
2 teenage boys are just not going to be caught listening to that song ever.
Yeah.
Are they?
Hey, song was pretty good. Yeah.
What do you
guys
think?
You guys ever, like dance around your school? Let's hear it for the boy.
So from a professional standpoint, what do you think about that? Am I all wet?
I think it could work, right? Given the right time and place, right?
It has the
high
right
school,
beat.
right?
I don't know. It just seemed I think a lot of it. Well, there's the thing. They're like opposite of each other. That was
going through the hallway.
And that's also kind of a funny thing that I sometimes wonder if we think about in movies like this. Willard, at the beginning of the movie, he doesn't know how to dance, and by the end, look at all the learning that he did. But here's the truth. They probably hired Willard for the part because he was a good dancer, right? Because there's no way when they made the movie, they're like, let's hire somebody that doesn't know how to dance, and then we'll teach him how to dance during the course of the movie. No, they hire a guy, right, that knows how to dance.
I've actually heard that, Chris Penn, like his actor who like plays him. I heard that Chris Penn, he didn't know how to dance before he took this role on. I heard that he almost had to like learn how to dance throughout the course, like
if that's true, that really surprises me,
right?
Because I would have expected, Okay, that's interesting.
So yeah, I don't know if that's like 100% sure, but I heard that he did not know how to dance at all, and he had like a dancing instructor on set who would show him how to do certain moves ahead of time, and then he'd kind of practice for a couple days, and then he would go to set. So that's actually pretty incredible because he looks pretty good.
If that's true,
right?
But by the end, when he does bust out his moves, it's really not that great, but it's okay. That's true. But I just kind of always assumed, in the world of movie magic, it's all pretend, and they'd hire somebody that actually already knows what they're doing, and then just fake not knowing what you're doing, and then know by the end of the movie and think, wow, he did so great. Yeah. Because you're convinced at the beginning he has no idea, but maybe he didn't, and that actually makes it much more interesting if that's true.
I don't think he had a background. I think that they had a
what other
choreographer
movies has he
on set.
been in? You mentioned that too.
Chris Penn. He was in.
Was it
Reservoir Dogs?
You mentioned something before. Was that what it was?
Reservoir Dogs.
Because I was looking at this, like, Kevin Bacon's been in a ton of stuff, but I was looking at, of course, Lithgow had two, but the other two, I thought, I don't know if I ever saw them in any other movies, really, but I guess they've been in a couple. Anyway. Yeah,
it was, it was the girl who played, like, Ariel, who, didn't do a ton of movies after that. Yeah. But Chris Penn, he was in quite a few, actually, especially in, like, the 90s. So.
Okay. Yeah. Well, let's talk about this next song, Almost Paradise. So, there's a couple of interesting things about this tune for me. Just the main thing is the fact that, so let's see here. Love theme, Eric Carmen, there's Dean Pitchford again.
There he is.
But this is performed by Mike Reno and Ann Wilson. Mm-hmm. Now, do either of you guys know who either of those two guys are? Two people. Do you know who Mike Reno is?
No, I don't.
Singer for Loverboy.
That's right.
And do you know who Ann Wilson is? Singer for Heart.
Really?
Yeah.
So they brought them together.
So this tune, and didn't they call it the love theme? Yeah, love theme from Footloose.
Okay.
This song became such a big hit. And at that time period, especially again, if you'd go to a school dance or something, how many times did you hear Almost Paradise played at a school dance? And this is, as I recall, this one was played. This is the one that was played when they were at the prom, right?
Yeah. Everybody was just, like the girls on the one side, the boys on the other side. Like it didn't look like Paradise on screen. But so I have to know, dude, like at a school dance in the 80s, like were you one of the first guys out there? Were you kind of
You better
hanging
believe
back?
It, man. I was an amazing dancer.
Yeah. Here you go.
I actually, it was, it's really funny because I didn't like doing it. I was kind of embarrassed a little bit.
Yeah.
But I had this one friend of mine that, I don't know why, he loved going dancing. So we'd go to some of these school dances and things, and he'd be out just going crazy. And so it kind of got me to a point where I'm like, you know what?
Warmed you up a little bit. This is actually
could be fun if I would just quit being a stick in the mud about the whole thing. And then I became awesome.
Wow. Okay, so, like for all of the viewers out there, what was your signature dance move?
Oh, I don't know that I ever had a, I was pretty good, at least during that time of doing the little, keeping it tight, don't get too crazy kind of thing.
Totally.
But I could do that. I could keep time. So that was probably as signature as it got. As I got older, I expanded a little bit.
Okay.
But that was about it. Anyway, but this was a big tune, and this ended up becoming kind of a hit on its own. Now this one here, Holding Out for a Hero, Bonnie Tyler. When was this played in the movie?
Oh my goodness! Like when him and that guy are both in the tractors. It's a standoff. Who can stay in the tractor the longest? And who. Like I grew up on a farm, like in Idaho, and I've never even seen something like that. That was super country, super crazy, man. Like somebody is gonna get seriously hurt in that scene. And you know, Kevin, you know,
You mean
like
farmers weren't just like throwing tractors out? Hey, let's go out and run them off the road.
You know, like not quite, you know, because like we needed the tractors to like harvest all the potatoes, right? So yeah, so that was kind of like, what's going on here? But you know, it's a pretty, you know, like fun scene, right? He's about to jump ship, but he can't because his shoelace is stuck on part of the tractor. So it looks, you know, like he's Mr. Cool, right? He's just hanging in there tight, but secretly he's trying to jump into
trying
the ditch.
To bail.
And the other guy eventually does jump into the ditch. And to be honest, too, like it didn't look like the water like was that deep, you know. So like whoever was the stunt, you know, like double there, that looked pretty intense. And he jumped from like 10 feet up too. That was crazy. So
yeah, well, and sacrificing tractors. Like they're really going to go run them into each other like that. That was pretty funny. And Ren, the city kid, gets the shoelace caught. That was so silly.
He's like, "Hey, you're trying to kill me," or something like that, right? And
he looks tough because he can't get off of the tractor. So great.
Yeah.
It's so silly.
Yeah.
It's a great. I again, these are things I saw this in theater. I remember watching that and just it was just so much fun.
Oh yeah,
so much fun.
You know, like all the shots were like so cool. You know, they did like aerial shots of it too, which like the main character's name is Ariel, so no pun intended.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
You know, and then they did
things.
like all these cool shots and. You know, and especially for like 1984, like all those shots and like the cinematography was way like before its time. Very, very impressive.
Huh. That's actually pretty interesting.
Yeah.
What a great scene. That was so much fun. Okay, next song. This is beginning of side 2, Dancing in the Sheets by Shalimar. So when was this? What was this scene when this happened?
So it's the iconic scene at the drive-thru. She goes over to the boom box and she hits play, you know, and everybody's just kind of chilling and hanging out.
That's right, because she has a cassette tape.
Yep.
That's right. There's a theme of cassette tapes in there because he takes the one out of that boom box or out of the car.
Yeah.
Then because doesn't she put it in? And then she hits play, and her boyfriend's sitting in the truck, right?
Mm-hmm. Totally. And then her dad, you know, like the preacher shows up and he's like. Everybody stops talking and everybody's just staring at her dad, you know. It's like these scenes where like everybody's like right. And her dad just walks up to her and he's like, "Hey, your mom didn't know if you had enough change."
Didn't think you had enough money or something.
Away.
Yeah, and then they're all standing
John
there.
John Lithgow, man, iconic.
That was, yeah. It's so funny. Yeah. I watched that scene earlier. And what's so funny about it, man, is that, again, I was a kid when this stuff came out. I look at the video of him now. I'm thinking, he's way younger than I am right now.
Ooh.
You know, looking at that going, that's
how crazy
pretty wild.
Is that,
yeah,
right?
It is wild. Because at the time, he was as old as time, as far, you know, from my perspective.
Yeah.
Now I'm looking at him going, man, he's a young dude.
Yeah.
In that scene.
Probably like early 40s, I'd say. You know, like 40, 41, 42.
Yeah, at most.
Young. Yeah.
I mean, really, he just didn't look, he was a young dude.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's right. That's where that was. Now, I'm Free, Heaven Helps the Man. This is
Kenny
the other
Loggins
Kenny
again.
Loggins song. When did this happen in the movie? I remember when this one happened.
Yeah.
I remember seeing this because this was the scene, and maybe we already mentioned this a minute ago when we were talking about Kenny Loggins, but this was when Lithgow is standing in front of the crowd, and he says, "I've heard that they're going to be putting on a dance, you know, and
I've heard they're going to be putting on a dance."
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then he says, "Let's pray for their whatever," something like that.
Right.
And as he says that, then the song kicks in. And you can see they're all kind of looking at each other. The kids are all, and that
dance
scene,
or do we listen to him? I don't know.
And that scene goes on uncomfortably long.
Yeah, it does.
Because they start playing the song, and then as I recall it, you know, Ren looks over, and then Ariel looks over, and then another person's looking around, and then they're looking back and forth, and then they're looking again, and then they look back, and then they look at each other. It seems like you just go, okay.
Okay.
Like that keeps going. And then the song carries on as they're going and putting the decorations up. Yeah. And you can like feel it. All right, now we're going to go. The dance is going to happen.
It's about to be super cool because it's Kenny Loggins singing. Let's go.
It's Kenny Loggins, exactly.
Oh, my goodness.
Somebody's eyes. I don't know where that happens. I don't know where that happens in the movie. It's not a great song either. But this next one here, this is something that was kind of cool at the time because I was a Sammy Hagar fan.
Of course.
And we have this Sammy Hagar song, The Girl Gets Around. Now, when did this one happen in the movie?
I mean, it was only when they were, reaching across each other on the road, like reaching into each other's cars, and there's another car coming at them. It was a pretty intense moment. And the girl gets around, is like playing in the background, and like teenagers, like just doing crazy stuff, right? On the highway. So yeah,
it's more cars about to run into each other. It was kind of a theme in the show.
Yep.
Where they had the tractors that were going to run into each other. Now we got to cut, and they played her off as kind of being this really kind of wild, crazy girl,
child,
and that was the songs being played. Yeah, so they were in a car. That truck pulled up alongside on the opposite, on the other direction, and then she basically like.
She's like in both cars at once.
In both cars, yeah.
Like her hands and her head and, like the top of her body is in the truck. And then her like lower half is in the other car. And there's a car coming
the other way. And
she's just being crazy.
And both cars are yelling at her.
Yeah. Yep.
Get in, get out, move. And then she's going out of her way to stress everybody out. Including all of us in the theater.
Yeah.
Because you have that moment, especially your 14-year-old kid watching this, the anxiety that comes watching this thing. But then again, like I said, that's where you hear Sammy Hagar's playing, and I was a big Sammy Hagar fan at the time, and so that was kind of a cool thing to have him be an important part of the show.
How come you think they because there were so many close calls in this movie, like almost collisions happening. Like, what is that? Is it just kind of like the whole film is just kind of a crash course? Maybe that's
part of the I hadn't thought about it till you just said that, but there is that symbol of things colliding, coming into things about to run into each other.
Yeah, like the whole world crashing down.
Because you have Ren coming in from the big city, and then you've got you've got the preacher, the city council, and they're on a collision course.
Well, and like what's the whole premise of the film too, right? Like the preacher's son had, died in like
a car wreck.
Yeah, in like a car wreck. So it's really almost like they're, like it's kind of like symbolic of that. I feel like the producers and, directors of the film kind of wanted to hit on that, which is really interesting, honestly. So
I'd never thought about it till just this second there was that symbol that was going on that entire time. Again, I saw it when I was a little kid. I'm not thinking about the deeper details of why they did what they did, but that is an interesting choice.
Totally playing on that.
It's this constant thing about you have these things in a collision course with each other, and then of course at the end of the movie, or near the end, where he ends up in front of the city council, and John Lithgow is on the city council, right?
Yep.
Yeah, because he's there, and then he's been given all these Bible verses by the preacher's daughter to basically go up and say, "This is about celebration. We want to be able to have a dance," and that was and that was in the end, that was the collision.
Yep. And like there lies like the plot line of the film, like even though his life was chaos, like by the end, just like you were saying, he was able to like overcome that, and
that's kind of interesting thing.
Yeah.
So then we have, what's this? Is this the last song? Never. Oh, performed by Moving Pictures. Okay, when was that song?
Oh yeah, so it's when he's it's Ren's just having a good time, right? Out front of, like he's outside of his truck, he's smoking, dude. He's just drinking it up, and he's having, like the flashbacks of everything. It's just never, and he's just, it's, like his like mind is just like going through everything, and he's just like, man, like what is this town? What am I doing? Like,
because this is the almost silly, although it is legendary now, scene where he gets out of his car. He's in that like big warehouse or something.
Yeah.
And he's got a cigarette and a beer, and he's like getting all mad. It's so funny looking at that
For
now.
a second, I thought he was going to smash the liquor bottle and do something. I didn't know.
Yeah, he ends up throwing it or something.
That's right.
And then he starts doing all of his dancing. So those songs like that one, I think are they feel like they could have been pulled off of a South Park training montage video, because it's almost because it's silly.
Yep.
And or
cheesy too. Yeah.
Yes. And when you watch that scene, everything about that scene is just bubbling over with cheese.
Just dramatic flair too. He's like smoke. He's like,
yep.
He's like blowing his cigarette smoke up.
Isn't it near the end of that where he does something where he jumps and he puts his arms out like this, and they just keep showing it over and over and over, the boom, 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 yeah. and then he finally lands it.
Oh my gosh!
And then he goes to the car and he's leaning on the car, and then Ariel walks in.
Yeah.
And he's all out of breath. Oh, I thought I was alone. He says, "No one's alone in this town," or something like this. It was so ridiculous. But again,
cheese, man, cheese.
But it was, like I said, it was that scene now is become the thing of legend, and you actually see people kind of make fun of that scene now.
Yep.
Because it was just so
they'll make
over the top
with all of the other songs.
Yeah.
Because he's just, I mean, like it almost kind of looks
Kevin
like he's
Bacon.
training to fight, or he's just super pissed at the world, man. So.
Yeah, that was classic stuff.
Yeah.
So then we get to so that's actually the whole movie. That's all the different songs in the movie.
Only 9 songs, and like I think it was like 6 of the 9 songs were in the top 40 in the U.S. 6 of the 9. Like, what is that like percentage? That's crazy.
That is actually really amazing. Yeah. I'm pretty sure Never wasn't one of them.
It never was, right?
It was never in the top anything.
But yeah,
it was so
6
ridiculous.
of the 9 were in the U.S. top 40 charts. And this soundtrack went diamond. Like not only did it go platinum, it went 10 times over. Platinum. 10 million copies, physical copies. That's I might add. It was 1984.
Yeah.
Physical copies.
How many of you bought this, first of all, or if you didn't buy the actual thing, how many of you bought singles off of it? Because of course, a lot of all this stuff, all the singles were put off on this thing too. So but I'll tell you something. It was for a kid, again, that was my age. You're a 14-year-old kid. This is Karate Kid time period. Yep. Top Gun would come out a couple years later.
Rocky IV.
Rocky IV was another one that would come out not long after this. Wasn't Rocky IV? We did that one before. Was that
85?
Okay, so that was the next year.
Mm-hmm.
And so as a young teenager, you have all these movies that are these weirdly motivating things, and this was a real kind of coming of age movie.
Totally.
That was a big deal for kids at the time. Like a kid, kids my age. Let's just take a look at what's on the inside of this thing.
Yeah.
So
let's check it out.
What they put on the inside is nothing too impressive. It's just, again, this is just all lyrics from the from the songs. But as you were saying a second ago, these songs were so significant. They ended up being such a big deal, and amazingly, a song like Footloose to this day. We talked about it in another episode when we were talking about Rocky, how Eye of the Tiger.
Yep.
To this day, from a soundtrack, remains as a staple in the world. And Footloose also, a Kenny Loggins tune from a soundtrack.
Everybody gets like married to that song, right? Every wedding reception ever.
You'll hear the song.
You'll hear this song. Even now in 2025, like I was just at a wedding, and guess what song they played? Footloose. Like crazy, man.
Yeah, it was amazing. And the movie, amazingly enough, is still kind of a fun coming of age movie.
Yeah.
Cool.
And I'm curious who saw, like the second one that came out in 2011, because it was nowhere near this one. Like I feel like it did like okay at the box office, but yeah, like you can never, yeah.
So
like
I want to show you
movie.
something that goes back to something that I said a little bit earlier, just to kind of show you this in black and white. So right here, this is from April 19th of 1984. This is the Central New Jersey Home News. And the headline there is Footloose soundtrack overtakes Van Halen. And when you look at the top LPs, look at them, the top three right there.
Oh my
the
goodness.
Footloose soundtrack is number 1. 1984, Van Halen is number 2. And Thriller is number 3. And basically what happened, as I recall, was that Michael Jackson and Footloose swapped places.
Man.
While 1984 just never quite did it.
What were they thinking?
Isn't that crazy? Isn't that funny?
It should have been
that?
number 1.
It was
any other
it
like
came that
year it would
close.
have been.
It came that close.
Dang.
And you had these other albums. I mean, look at some of these others that were popular at the time. You had Thriller, which was number 3, which is amazing because Thriller had been out for so long
Best
at this
album
point.
of all time.
Biggest selling album ever.
One of them.
Then Can't Slow Down by Lionel Richie, Sports by Huey Lewis and the News. I think they had 4 or 5 hit songs off of that album. That was a huge one. Culture Club had, Eurythmics had something. Love for Sting, Scorpions, that was big at the time. Heartbeat City from The Cars was big at the time. And so, oh my gosh, Thompson Twins too. Anyway, that was
Twins,
these were some of the songs that were popular back then. And Footloose, you can see it right there.
What was Eddie Van Halen thinking?
Isn't that funny?
Jeez.
That
do it the next year, man.
It's pretty funny.
Let your album just be number 1 forever.
But what's funny is when Eddie Van Halen did the song, recorded the song, because all he really did was the guitar solo.
Yeah.
And did a slight rearrangement in part of it, but it was, no one had any, including Eddie Van Halen, had any idea that it was going to hit the way that it did. I mean, just no one saw it.
That's true.
Because the way Eddie Van Halen was looking, I was like, just with this kid, wants me to come play guitar solo, so so he kind of did it as a favor, and then that was it. But I found, so just about this, and we'll wrap it up, I just wanted to share one thing that I thought was kind of interesting. So I did some searches on Footloose, the soundtrack, and I found something kind of interesting. And I don't think I'll read the whole thing, but it was an interesting look into soundtracks. Yeah. And this is from April 20th, 1984, and it's just
quickly, just before you jump into that, in the 1984 Oscars, 2 of these songs in the same category, they were both nominated for the Best Original Song, and it was Let's Hear It for the Boys and Footloose, and they were up against the Ghostbusters song Against All Odds by Phil Collins, and also I Just Called to Say I Love You by Stevie Wonder.
Oh my gosh.
Ultimately, right? Ultimately,
wait a second. Ghostbusters was 84? That's crazy thinking about that.
Yeah.
So nominated for, what was this? It was nominated for what is this?
Yeah, so it was nominated for the Best Original Song of 1984.
So 2 of the songs on Footloose were nominated for best original song.
Let's Hear It for the Boys, and of course, like the main song, like
of
Footloose.
All the songs, Let's Hear It for the Boy. That's actually kind of funny.
Yeah.
And then you had Ghostbusters, which was which was which is kind of funny too, because that is kind of a ripoff of a Huey Lewis song.
Yeah.
Which is from Sports.
Yeah.
I Want a New Drug. Because I don't even know this. They asked Huey Lewis to do a song for Ghostbusters.
Oh yeah.
And then he was like too busy, they wouldn't do it. And they wanted to have a song that was kind of like the song I Want a New Drug.
Wow.
And so then Ray Parker wrote the song Ghostbusters, which sounds exactly like I Want a New Drug. And then they had to settle out of court over that. So It's funny that got nominated that year.
Yep.
And then the other one was you said it was a Phil Collins tune.
Yep. Against All Odds.
Okay.
And then it was I Just Called to Say I Love You by Stevie Wonder, which like ultimately that was the song that won. Was the Stevie Wonder
So neither
song.
of these won.
No.
But Stevie Wonder, okay.
But, for like two songs in a soundtrack to get nominated in the same category is unheard of. That's so cool.
That actually is kind of amazing to have two songs from the same soundtrack get not. Yeah, that's although of the song. I mean, I understand Footloose. Let's hear for the. That's funny that's the other one that got nominated because that's not my whatever. We were making fun of that song earlier. So anyway, that's actually really cool information.
Yeah.
To know that, and looking back at that time, I remember Ghostbusters was that was a popular song. That was so popular. And actually, it's funny because Against All Odds, and how many of you remember that too? I mean, speaking of Almost Paradise and that Foreigner song, you'd hear Against All Odds at school dances. Same thing, man. Phil Collins, he was like a monster famous at that point too. Anyway, that's actually pretty cool information. Yeah. Town was this from? McAllen, Texas. So check this out. I thought this is pretty fascinating. It says, Sound Insight, love affair between rock music and movies heating up again. And it says, a long dormant love affair between rock music and the movies is heating up again. Creators from the record and film industries now work as equal partners in the development of movies. Soundtrack albums and music videos cross-merchandising their wares like crazy to maximize each product's appeal to the youth market. The result, when everything clicks, is a new breed of multi-format entertainment hit typified by last year's smash Flashdance and this spring's red-hot Footloose. You saw the film, now hear the album. You listen to the record, now get the video. The movie business was one of the midwives of rock and roll with the release of Rock Around the Clock in 1985. And what's
Turning point.
Yeah, and what's so interesting about this is, and they make some other examples here, like Tommy, and The Graduate is another great example.
Yeah.
But when you go back to like the 60s, and you saw this, especially with Elvis Presley, this marriage of bringing movies and the songwriters or the rock stars together into the same world. And I think part of the point here is that when the 80s started rolling around and you started having things like this, these producers realized, man, we need to have a multifaceted approach to this. Yeah. And it's part of the reason that this is such an interesting soundtrack, because they went out of their way to bring songs on here that could be standalone hit songs, not just background music. It was like, we're going to bring in famous artists. I mean, you got Sammy Hagar, you got Kenny Loggins. They're already big. Mike Reno, Ann Wilson are already big names. And they're bringing these people in, they're writing songs for this purpose, and then they create this whole product that has the videotape, that has the record, the singles, and then the music videos at the time too.
It's a win-win, thing,
and they took,
right?
And then it's like, get all the money from all the kids that you possibly can from all the different angles. Yep. So I went and saw the movie. I go buy the soundtrack. I buy the single. I watch it on MTV, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. And then these
only
people,
that, but like then you're gonna, like listen to their music more too, right? And like a lot of the times too, these like artists have, like a new single, a new like album all queued up, right? And once this movie drops, then they're going to drop their album because that's going to help their new album sales, right?
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Because like, you know, Sammy Hagar having a song on here just it puts the name Sammy Hagar out in front of people that may not have been so familiar with him at the time.
And it gives him credibility, right? Oh, like who is this new guy? Oh, he was on the Footloose soundtrack.
Yep.
That's huge.
Yeah. So this is kind of an interesting thing that we'll kind of wrap this up with. But this is so check this out. I love this. Okay, let's see here. The hottest entertainment story of the hour is Footloose, a smash at the box office since the day it opened, thanks to a 6-week pre-selling of its music on radio and MTV.
Wow.
This week, the Footloose soundtrack album is #1 on the Billboard magazine chart. History will mark Footloose as the LP which finally displaced Michael Jackson's Thriller from the top chart slot after Michael Jackson's unprecedented 17-week run of glory.
17?
So Michael Jackson had been in the #1 spot, as I remember, a couple different times, and this time it had been for 17 weeks. And instead of Van Halen getting into the #1 spot, Footloose jumps ahead and takes it. Okay, now this is pretty interesting. The Footloose soundtrack also is unique as a creative venture. Screenwriter Dean Pitchford, which we talked about earlier, wrote the lyrics for every song on the soundtrack, quite a departure for the 10 singer-songwriters who participated in the project. Now, again, this is what, and it may be that he wrote all the lyrics on everything because he wrote the story, but I read these things and I question that a little bit, you know, and it's possible that he did.
Yeah.
But a lot of times these people, they will write a word or a line, you know, to get the credit. But it's, you know, according to this, he wrote all the words. Who knows? This is just what this particular article says. Damn. It's just interesting that way, that he, you know, his involvement at least on that level. Okay, now check this out. So far, none of the contributors are suffering or complaining. Kenny Loggins' reading of the title tune from Footloose is this week's #2 record on the singles list. And 3 other songs from Footloose are in the top 40. All that's happening at the same time. Let's Hear It for the Boy by Denise Williams is #23. Dancing, and it says Dancing in the Streets, but it's not dancing, it's Dancing in the Sheets. Dancing in the Seats by Shalimar is #30. And Holding Out for a Hero by Bonnie Tyler, #34. Vocals by Carla Bonhoff, Sammy Hagar, Moving Pictures, and Ann Wilson, Mike Reno team round out the package. And I'm pretty sure that that Ann Wilson, Mike Reno, that song Almost Paradise, it got up into the top at some point.
Oh yeah,
that was just a huge hit.
Yeah.
So anyway, and then it goes on and says how it goes on and mentions how police, you know, how Sting got involved with Dune and had been. Because again, they're trying to bring all these different things together and turn these into these massive money-making ventures.
Smart. So
anyway, I thought that was kind of an interesting way to wrap up what we've been talking about here from a soundtrack standpoint. And this was such a big deal from the world of soundtracks. Oh, Footloose from 1984, February of 1984, and really continues to resonate.
You know, like I love the film, I love the soundtrack, and it just kind of all goes together, and it's incredible.
Yeah, and it still the scenes are silly and fun as heck. Did you see this in the theater like I did, and what was your experience like? And in real life, what was your experience like hearing these songs at dances? Because I know a lot of people that watch this channel are roughly my age, give or take a decade, and you would have had these same experiences that I had, and I'd love to hear about those things as well. And please share this with other people, of course. And thanks, Austin, for being here again today.
Thanks for having me, man.
With that, have yourself a fantastic day.